The doctor's words hit me like ice water. You have 72 hours to find a kidney donor or your father dies. I stared at the unconscious man hooked to beeping machines. Victor Johnson, the billionaire who'd thrown me away like garbage when I was 7 years old. The same man whose security guards had dragged me screaming from his mansion gates 15 years ago, telling me never to come back. The same man who'd looked me in the eyes and said, "You're not my daughter anymore." Now his real children, the ones he kept, stood around his hospital bed crying fake tears, probably counting their inheritance money. His wife Patricia clutched her diamond necklace, the one that cost more than the orphanage where I grew up could feed kids for 10 years. None of them knew I was here. To them I was just another nurse in scrubs, invisible, worthless. But I was the only match. Hey friends, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to comment where you are watching from. Someone close to you might be watching too. Like, share, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a story. Make sure to watch till the very end because the final twist is something you definitely don't want to miss. So let's continue. The test results burned in my pocket. Perfect compatibility. My kidney could save him. The irony tasted bitter. The daughter he'd abandoned, the one he'd erased from existence, held his life in her hands. One signature on the donor forms, and he'd live. One signature refused, and the great Victor Johnson would die gasping for breath, drowning in his own poisoned blood. 22 years old, and I held the power of God over the man who'd destroyed my childhood. The memory still cut fresh. 7-year-old me standing in the rain outside his office building, holding a teddy bear, begging his secretary to let me see my daddy. The security footage going viral on social media, billionaire's bastard child rejected, the whispers at school, the foster homes, the nights crying myself to sleep, wondering what I'd done wrong to make my own father hate me. I remember the exact moment he told me. We were in his study, the one with the tall windows overlooking the garden where I used to play. He didn't even sit down, didn't even look at me properly, just stood there in his expensive suit while I sat on the leather chair, my feet not even touching the ground. "You're going to live somewhere else now," he'd said, like he was discussing the weather. "For how long, Daddy?" "Forever." That word had echoed in my 7-year-old mind like thunder. Forever was supposed to be for love, for families, for promises to always be together, not for sending daughters away. Patricia's voice sliced through my thoughts, dragging me back to the present. Where's that useless medical team? We're paying millions for the best care and they can't even find a donor. She glanced at me without recognition. "You, nurse, get the head doctor. Tell him Victor Johnson doesn't wait for anything." I almost laughed. Victor Johnson was waiting now, waiting for me to decide if he deserved to live. My phone buzzed. A text from the hospital administrator. "Joy, have you made your decision? The surgical team needs to prep if you're going through with the donation." Joy. The name the orphanage gave me because I arrived on Christmas Day, dumped at their doorstep with nothing but a note. "Her name is Joy. Please take care of her. I can't anymore." Later, I learned the truth. Victor had paid my mother $50,000 to disappear with me. She took the money, kept $49,000, and used the remaining $1,000 to pay the orphanage to take me. My mother sold me for money, my father paid to erase me, and now in the universe's cruelest joke, I was the only one who could save him. "Excuse me," Patricia snapped her fingers in my face. "Are you deaf? I said get the head doctor." I looked at this woman who'd convinced Victor to abandon me. She'd been pregnant with his legitimate son when my existence threatened her perfect family image. She'd made him choose. His mistress's child or his empire. He chose the empire. "The head doctor is in surgery," I lied smoothly. "But I can help you." She scoffed. "What can a nurse do? We need specialists, not minimum wage workers." Minimum wage. I wanted to tell her I graduated top of my medical school class, that I'd gotten scholarships they couldn't buy with all their money, that I'd survived things that would have broken her pampered children. Instead, I smiled and checked Victor's monitors, noting how his skin had turned the yellowish grey of kidney failure. His son Michael stumbled in, reeking of alcohol at 2 in the afternoon. Is he dead yet? Then, catching his mother's glare, I mean, any improvement? These were the children he chose. Michael, who'd crashed 3 Ferraris and dropped out of 4 universities. His daughter Sophia, who spent her trust fund on parties and cocaine rehab. The family he protected while throwing me away like trash. But as I watched Victor's chest rise and fall, machines keeping him barely alive, I remembered something else. The photo I'd found in his wallet. It had fallen out when they'd brought him in, when I was cutting off his bloodied clothes after his collapse. A worn, hidden photo, tucked behind his credit cards, a little girl with pigtails grinning, missing her front teeth. Me. He'd kept my picture for 15 years. Why keep the photo of a child you abandoned? Why carry the weight of that memory in your wallet every single day? I thought about my years at the orphanage. Mrs. Winters, the director, had been kind but overwhelmed. 43 children and never enough of anything. Food, beds, love, time. I learned to be quiet, to need less, to disappear into the background. The opposite of the chatty, demanding child I'd been in Victor's house. I remembered my 10th birthday. No one else knew it was my birthday because I'd never told them. I sat by the window watching families walk by, making up stories about where my father was. Maybe he was trapped somewhere. Maybe he had amnesia. Maybe he was searching for me right now but couldn't find me. Any story except the truth, that he'd chosen to throw me away. That night I'd found a cupcake on my pillow. Mrs. Winters had somehow remembered. Everyone deserves to be celebrated, she'd whispered, tucking me in. That single cupcake meant more to me than all the elaborate birthday parties Victor had thrown me in his mansion. Nurse Joy, Dr. Harrison appeared in the doorway, pulling me from my memories. We need to speak privately. Patricia's eyes narrowed. What does a nurse have to do with my husband's care? Dr. Harrison's face stayed neutral. Hospital matters, Mrs. Johnson. In the hallway, he pulled me aside. Joy, I know this is impossible to ask, but we're running out of time. Your test results show you're not just a match. You're a perfect match. It's almost unheard of unless you're related, I finished. I know. His eyes widened with understanding. Joy, are you his daughter, the one he pretended never existed? Dr. Harrison had been my mentor, the only one who knew my full story. His face crumpled with sympathy. You don't have to do this. No one would blame you for walking away. Wouldn't they? I laughed bitterly. Rich billionaire dies because nurse refused to donate kidney. They'd destroy me. I'd never work in medicine again. We could keep it anonymous, say we couldn't find a match. I shook my head. His other children were tested. None of them matched. If he dies, they'll investigate everything. They'll find out I was compatible and chose to let him die. I pressed my palms against my eyes. Either way, I lose. Save him, and I'm the fool who helped the man who destroyed her. Let him die, and I become a monster. There's a third option, Dr. Harrison said quietly. Save him, then tell him the truth. The truth, that his abandoned daughter held his life in her hands and chose mercy over revenge, that the child he threw away grew up to be better than him. That love survived where hate had tried to take root. But what if he didn't care? What if saving his life meant nothing to him? I walked back to his room, where Patricia was screaming at another doctor about flying in specialists from Switzerland. Michael was on his phone, already making arrangements for the funeral, caterers, flowers, who would inherit what. Sophia hadn't even shown up, probably too high to care. This was his family. This was what he'd chosen over me. I approached his bedside. Even unconscious, Victor Johnson looked powerful. Silver hair, strong jaw, the face I saw in the mirror every morning. We had the same eyes, the same stubborn chin, the same way of frowning when thinking hard. DNA didn't lie, even when fathers did. My hand hovered over his. 15 years since he'd touched me, since he'd pushed me away when I tried to hug him goodbye. Please, Daddy, I'll be good, I'd sobbed. I promise I'll be good. Get this child out of my sight, he'd said, not even looking at me. She's not mine anymore. Not mine anymore. Like I was property to be discarded.